Right, so hopefully we're a bit familiar with Pixlr now. We've got the idea of the basic stuff it can do. So we're going to try something a bit more advanced this week. I've just gone onto the internet and found this picture, but you can choose any picture. What I'm looking for this particular exercise is something with a bit of action, where you want to emphasise the person or the thing in the foreground and want everything else to sort of fade away into the background a bit. Let's go to the properties of the picture. Let's see if we can copy the URL and go back to Pixlr, and we'll open the image from the URL this time, straight from the internet. And hopefully that'll download like that. Okay. Let's zoom in a bit, make it a tiny bit bigger. Oh, no. Okay, so we've got the picture up there now. Now, what we're going to do now is we're going to add a layer. Now, at the moment, if you go across to the layers box over here, we've just got the background layer, the picture that we've put in there. So if we go to the layers tab, the layers thing up here, we click that. We're going to duplicate the layer. So that means we're just going to put the same image on top of the image we've already got. Okay. So now we've got the background and a copy of the background on top of it. These layers go in order. Obviously I can click between the background and the background copy. It makes no difference because they're both exactly the same at the moment. So it's basically like having one photo on top of another photo. And you can alter either photo. Whichever one you got selected here is going to be the one you're going to alter. I'm going to just uncheck this box. Now that means that the top copy is invisible. It's still there, but it's invisible. So if I uncheck that, I'm now looking at the background, and the background's highlighted so I can work on it. I'll go across to the filters, and I'm going to put some Gaussian blur. We'll put that on there. Okay, we can change the amount of blur. It's probably a bit better. So about that blurry. Okay. So now we've got the background is a blurred picture, but if we click the checkbox for the foreground picture, the one on top, and have a look at that, that's still sharp. So background's blurry and the top sharp. Okay. Now, what I'm going to do now is go to my eraser tool, and I need a pretty big brush size here, so I'm going to click on this 50. I'm just going to cut it really, so let's do it up to let's say about that. What's that look like? Oh no, that's huge, not that big. Steady now. No, don't like that either. A bit less. Yeah, that'll do. Okay. Okay, so now what we're going to do. Okay. So we're going to work on the top picture. Remember, the background's blurry. And oh no, I think I've erased some of the background. Let's do. One more, I think. Edit. Yeah, okay, that's fine. Right, so we've got the blurry background, we've got the sharp foreground, and we've got the eraser tool up. So now what we're going to do is make sure you've got the background copy, this one here, selected, so it's blue, because we're going to now erase some of the foreground picture, some of the top picture, so we can see underneath the background picture. So we'll click and drag, and you can see I'm wiping out the top picture. And as I wipe out the top picture, I see the blurred background picture. Now, same as last week, this is just very, very crude. I'm just using a big brush for speed. If you're doing it, then you need a much smaller brush size for the fine detail around around the actual player here. So you're going to have to zoom in, and so for example here where it's sharp between these guys' legs, and this you can see the crowd is sharp in the background. You have to zoom in, reduce your brush size, and try and make sure the blur follows the people. So what you end up with is a very, very sharp foreground, these guys in the foreground leaping up, and the background's blurred and sort of disappears and loses significance, and it really emphasises the movement and the people in the middle. In fact, I've probably overdone the blur a bit there. I'd probably do it a bit more subtly maybe than I've done, but anyway, it gives you an idea of what you can do. The other thing you can do with this as well, if I move back to the background, is, and let's get rid of that just so we can see. So we've got this going on. This isn't the best example, but you often see it with in advertising and things like that, where you've got a black and white background, and then some elements of the foreground of the top picture are in colour. It's done in the same way. You take the same image, one on top of the other, but instead of blurring the background, you go to filter, no, you don't, go to adjustment, hue and saturation. Saturation is how much colour there is in the picture, how saturated it is with colour. If you take that down to -100, that's now black and white. And if I bring in the top thing again, then okay, it looks rubbish because I've not deleted enough of it. But you can imagine that, for example, here I could, and in fact, let's just see if we can do a rough. Oh no, that's nonsense. Do that. Okay, make sure you're working on the foreground copy. So now, for example, I could make everything black and white except for the basketball. And okay, it's a bit crude because it's not really. I've not really. You can't really combine the black and white and the blurry. But never mind. Incidentally, I wonder if I can. Oh, that's interesting. Oh, how cool is that? Right. So we can go back to duplicate layer. Let's uncheck that. Background. Adjustments, saturation. Okay. Right, so I didn't realise you could do that actually. So with the history, you can click anywhere in the history and go back to a certain point in the picture without having to undo. So that's quite handy. So let's get that up. Select that. Oh, erase tool again. It's up already. Okay, so now you can see it's the same idea, but this time you're getting rid of all the colour from the foreground by erasing the foreground image, and you just leave the colour in. And you just leave the colour in the foreground. So there you go. So 2 things to practice this week. You can practice blurring a background and turning a background black and white, and having elements in the foreground that are sharp or elements in the foreground that are in colour. And let's see how that goes. Images by next Friday, please. And let's see how you do. Just to let you know, the images I'm doing, I know these are pretty crude because I don't want you watching me working on an image for half an hour. But I do expect you to be taking your time doing these images carefully. All this, if you're doing this background and you just wanted this player here to be in colour, or the basketball to be in colour, and everything else to be black and white, then all this sort of detail around here, you're going to have to just keep on reducing your brush size, and zooming in further and further to the picture, so you can get more and more detail. So let's see, 20, say, yeah, like this. So you can get a bit closer in, and the more time you take over it, the better your final image is, because you don't get any fuzzy edges and all the rest of it. Okay, good luck with that, and I'll look forward to your pictures next week.